Welcome back to the channel. Today we have something truly shocking for you. We're diving into the world of train collisions, but not just any collisions. We're talking about the most unbelievable, the most jaw-dropping, the ones that'll make you question how these things could even happen. We're talking twisted metal, incredible forces, and the sheer power of these massive machines. We're going to see some crazy footage today, the kind that'll make you sit back and say, "Whoa, did that just happen?" Make sure to watch till the end, because you won't believe what we have in store. We're going to break down these incidents, talk about what went wrong, and hopefully learn something from these unbelievable events. So buckle up because this is going to be a wild ride. Imagine this, thousands of tons of steel hurtling across the country at incredible speeds. They're powerful, efficient, and incredibly safe. But when something goes wrong, it goes really wrong. The sheer force of a train in motion is something you have to see to believe. We're talking about forces that can pulverize concrete, twist metal like it's paper, and leave behind a path of destruction. Today we're witnessing the most shocking train collisions ever captured. These aren't your typical fender benders, folks. Get ready to see some crazy stuff. Cars getting obliterated, trains derailing and plowing through buildings, and situations that seem straight out of an action movie. But it's important to remember that these are real events, with real consequences. By understanding what caused these collisions, we can all gain a better appreciation for the importance of train safety. So are you ready to witness the raw power of trains gone wrong? Let's dive in. Our first incident takes us to a busy intersection in rural America. Picture this, a bright, sunny day, cars waiting patiently at a railroad crossing, the red lights flashing, the bells clanging, the universal sign to stop for an approaching train. But then, out of nowhere, a semi-truck barrels through the crossing arms, completely ignoring the warnings. Now, I'm not talking about a slow roll through the intersection. This truck driver was in a hurry, flying over the tracks like they weren't even there. It was a reckless move, a decision made in haste that would have terrifying consequences. Because just as the truck cleared the tracks, a freight train, a monstrous wall of steel hauling tons of cargo, slammed into the trailer with the force of 1,000 suns. The impact was deafening, the kind of sound that rattles your bones and sends chills down your spine. The truck, once a symbol of power and size, was instantly reduced to a crumpled heap of metal. Debris flew everywhere, scattering across the intersection like confetti in a storm. It was a scene of utter chaos, a stark reminder of the destructive power of a train in motion. It was one of those moments where time seemed to slow down. One minute the truck was there, the next it was gone, replaced by an explosion of metal and dust. What led to this catastrophic collision? As investigators would later reveal, the truck driver, blinded by a tight deadline and a false sense of urgency, misjudged the speed and distance of the approaching train. He thought he could beat it, thought he had enough time to clear the tracks. He was wrong, dead wrong. This wasn't a case of faulty equipment or a malfunctioning signal. This was a human error, a lapse in judgment that had devastating consequences. It highlighted the importance of respecting the power of trains and the need for unwavering adherence to traffic signals. The flashing lights, the clanging bells, the lowered crossing arms, they're not suggestions, they're the difference between life and death. And in this case, the truck driver paid the ultimate price for his reckless disregard for safety. But the tragedy didn't end there. The impact of the collision was so severe that the train derailed, several of its massive cargo cars toppling off the tracks like dominoes. Thankfully, the train conductor and engineers survived with minor injuries. Chapter 4. A Wake-Up Call. The aftermath of the collision was nothing short of apocalyptic. The intersection was transformed into a scene from a disaster movie, littered with twisted metal, shattered glass, and the lingering smell of diesel fuel. Emergency crews worked tirelessly to clear the wreckage, their faces grim as they assessed the devastation. This incident sent shockwaves through the community, a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of vigilance, especially around railroad crossings. It served as a wake-up call, urging drivers to slow down, pay attention, and never underestimate the power of a train. The mangled wreckage of the truck became a chilling monument to the consequences of reckless driving. It stood as a silent but powerful reminder that the rules of the road apply to everyone, regardless of the size or urgency of their vehicle. This incident wasn't just about a train hitting a truck, it was about the importance of responsibility, the need for caution, and the devastating consequences of taking safety for granted. Chapter 5. The Silent Guardians. Now you might be thinking, what about safety measures? Don't these crossings have things in place to prevent these kinds of accidents? And you'd be right. We've got flashing lights, clanging bells, those big old crossing arms. They're like the silent guardians of the tracks. But here's the thing, they can't stop everything. They rely on us, on drivers and pedestrians, to actually pay attention, to respect their warnings. You see, technology can only do so much. It can warn us, it can try to stop us, but ultimately, it comes down to the choices we make. And unfortunately, as we saw in that first incident, sometimes those choices have tragic consequences. That's why it's so important to understand that these safety measures aren't foolproof. They're there to help us, to keep us safe. But they can't do it alone. We need to meet them halfway, to be aware of our surroundings, to approach railroad crossings with caution and respect. Because when it comes to trains, there's no room for error. Chapter 6. A Twist of Fate. But our journey into the world of shocking train incidents doesn't end there. Our next story takes us across the globe, to a bustling city where a seemingly ordinary commute took a terrifying turn. Picture this, a crowded train station, people rushing to catch their trains, the air thick with anticipation, and the rhythmic rumble of approaching locomotives. Among the bustling crowd, a young woman, lost in her thoughts, waits for her train, completely unaware of the danger lurking just around the corner. As her train pulls into the station, she steps onto the platform, her eyes glued to her phone, her mind miles away. And in a cruel twist of fate, she loses her footing, stumbling towards the edge of the platform just as the train comes to a screeching halt. The crowd gasps as the woman disappears from view, swallowed by the gap between the train and the platform. In that heart-stopping moment, time seemed to stand still. Passengers on the train and those on the platform hold their breaths, their faces etched with a mixture of horror and disbelief. The woman, caught off guard by her stumble, finds herself wedged between the train and the platform edge, her body pressed against the cold, unforgiving steel. Panic surges through her as she realizes the precariousness of her situation. She's trapped, her escape blocked by the weight of the train on one side and the sheer drop to the tracks on the other. Her heart pounds in her chest as she cries out for help, her voice muffled by the surrounding metal and the shocked silence of the crowd. Unlike the previous incident, this wasn't a collision of brute force, of metal against metal. This was a collision of human error and unfortunate circumstance, a reminder that danger can lurk in the most unexpected places. It highlighted the importance of situational awareness, of being present in our surroundings, especially in busy and potentially hazardous environments like train stations. While the previous incident showcased the devastating consequences of recklessness at railroad crossings, this incident emphasized the need for caution and attention to detail, even within the seemingly safe confines of a train station. These incidents, though vastly different in nature, share a common thread. They expose the vulnerabilities of even the most well-designed systems when human error, carelessness, or a simple lack of awareness comes into play. They remind us that safety isn't just about rules and regulations, it's about personal responsibility, about making conscious decisions to prioritize our well-being and the well-being of those around us. Whether it's behind the wheel of a car approaching a railroad crossing or navigating the crowded platform of a train station, our choices have consequences. And sometimes, those consequences can be life-altering. And for our final story, we have something truly unbelievable. This one's not a collision, but a runaway train. Imagine a train, fully loaded, speeding down the tracks with no one at the controls. That's exactly what happened in a remote region, sending chills down the spines of everyone who heard about it. It started innocently enough, a routine maintenance check at the top of a mountain pass. But a series of mechanical failures and miscommunications turned routine into terrifying. The train, uncoupled from its brakes, started to roll, slowly at first, then picking up speed as gravity took hold. Down the mountain it went, faster and faster, turning into a runaway beast of steel. People watching it unfold from trackside cameras could only stare in disbelief. This wasn't a movie, this was real life, and this runaway train was a disaster waiting to happen. Thanks for watching. If you found this video shocking, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable content. We've seen some crazy stuff today, from trucks getting obliterated to a woman's near-death experience on a platform, even a runaway train. Let us know in the comments which incident shocked you the most. It's wild to see how quickly things can go wrong, even with something as massive as a train. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you in the next video.